The topic of mental health has increasingly come to the forefront of society. Coordinator of Student Athlete Enrichment Dejanay Green, athletic trainer Keisha Williams, academic specialist Trayvon Briggs, and student athlete Michelle Folk discuss the importance of mental health and the pandemic's effect on student athletes.
I think mental health is more like the emotional wellness, maybe something that you can't necessarily see, like what you feel on the inside, and it can be very hard to describe. And it could mask itself as other things, like you might feel like physically sick, but something might be wrong mentally, I think. For me, I've had lots of lots of things, it's hard to explain, even with sports. I mean, performance anxiety is a big thing for me, and I do fine in practice, but then it comes to the race and I'm less. So it's something that's very hard, and it's hard to deal with for sure.
I've been here for 3 years, and every year that I've been here, we have had a mental health crisis, I guess is the way to say it. We've had one big mental health crisis that we've had to fully enact our protocols and our plans that we have written. And then every day you go through where you just have athletes who just don't feel like being here. Like I mentioned before, I've had a student athlete who's came in and slit her wrist right in front of me. And I just said, okay, well, we're gonna clean it up and then we're gonna talk about it, and then we're gonna get you real help, because clearly there are some underlying issues that you feel safe enough to tell me about, but this is out of my scope. Once you go into self-harming, it's out of my scope. I can't help you. And it's understanding what athletic training and what athletic trainers can handle and what you can handle as a person, and what you need to send somebody to an institution or a psychiatrist, or even using the counseling center on campus. Those are the people that you need to understand, and we have protocols in place. And thankfully, we have never had a student athlete who has successfully attempted to commit suicide, but there are other institutions that you can learn from. And it sounds really wrong to say that, but it's not something uncommon in athletics. And it can get really bad after their senior year and they're done playing sports. They've lost their identity. So you have to really be prepared and have that relationship with that athlete to have that conversation with them.
Holistic development and preparing for life after sports is something that's super key with me, just because with all these student athletes, we understand your next 4 to 5 years here, you're surrounded with the team, you're surrounded with the jersey number, you're associated with the class, and wins and losses. And for the next 4 to 5 years, you have the same introduction. This is my name, this is my school year, this is the sport I play, and that's pretty much it. And you get into this culture that is surrounded by wins and losses, and making sure that you're always on the up end and in performance, that you don't realize who you are versus what you do. So after these 4 or 5 years, you've been associated all your life with what you do, and then it comes to this abrupt ending for most, and now they're trying to figure out who they actually are. So with life skills, we look into leadership development, professional development, career development, mental health, all of these spaces, so we can start preparing you for not only life after your sport, but also so you can start thinking about it while you're in your sport. So it's super essential for me as a former student athlete, and then just being around student athletes now and seeing that this is something that hasn't changed over the years. It's different faces, but it's almost the same story. So our job is, how can you better prepare them than the last group, and the last group, what worked and what didn't.
I think right now is a good time to figure it out, because in college, you're in this space where you're figuring out who you want to be and what you want to be for the rest of your life. So, while the focus at the university level is academics, who are you going to be using that academic degree? And, who are you going to be outside of UNO, right? So, if it is a matter of, I really don't know what to talk about outside of athletics, or I don't really know how to introduce myself outside of, hi, I'm an athlete. We talk about it and we grow through it, because it's just like, for the past 18, 20 years, it's been athletics. And now for the next, 50 years, it's gonna be athletics or, something else, and I was a former athlete. And so we definitely tie in the academics, because, that's potentially going to lead to a career, right? So it's like, okay, you're a business administration major. What do you want to do with that? Oh, I want to own my own business. All right, cool. So what efforts are you putting into being an entrepreneur is that effort matching what you're putting into being an athlete? And so that's where it kind of comes into the, well, maybe we should get into some networking, maybe we should get into some more career exploration. So it's definitely not telling them, don't focus on being an athlete, but let's build up other aspects of your life. So you can have multiple aspects of you, and athletics being an important one, but not the only one.
So it was hard getting the season taken away. I only got to do a few indoor races, and I was really excited to do outdoor. I love outdoor, I love track, and it was my first time doing indoor, so I was really excited for outdoor, and I was ready, I was in pretty good shape. And then it all went away, instantly, pretty much, And having to go home was hard. I had to pack up my dorm and just leave. And I couldn't even take everything. I thought we were gonna be gone for like 2 weeks or even like a month. I was like, I'll be back, so I'll go away. It did not. And I know that a lot of other people struggle more mentally now because of COVID and classes being online. In that first semester they were online, they just kind of threw everything at us. They were like, we don't know what to do, here you go. And it wasn't even like we were on a pass-fail. It was like, you still have to get your grades. So it's just like, what do I do? How do I learn Calculus 2 from my mom's office? So it's tough, very tough.
Some things that have definitely helped me out that I would recommend for athletes to do is to kind of not strive for the past normal. Because that's one thing that, before COVID, I was able to do this, and before COVID, I was able to do that. And it's like, baby, we are 10 toes deep in COVID. Like, we may not be able to do that anymore. So it's like, instead of striving for what was, kind of adjusting our expectations for what is.
I'm proud of this now, now that I think about it. I think of, talking to students when it comes to being in a pandemic, when it comes to grades, when it comes to performance, injuries. Besides the pandemic, I've done it all, and I tell the student athletes, don't let this office desk and the letters behind my name confuse you. I am 2-time academic probation in my undergrad years. I transferred. I had various injuries. I had a senior, career-ending injury, with a Tommy John surgery. Everything that you've dealt with or that you've hit on a little bit, I've somehow experienced it. And I think that the best part about it is that I've been able to manage it, understanding that they don't necessarily need somebody that can always relate, but they need somebody that can just listen. So I always make sure that while I'm listening to what they're saying and I'm thinking like, I remember when I was that age and I dealt with this. At the end of the day, it just reminds me of, what I wish I had when I was a student athlete, and just making sure that I can be that.